Hi, thanks for tuning in. My name is Larry Weiland of LW Personal Training. Today's video is going to be about shoulders. Not shoulders as in, I'm not going to teach you how to bulletproof your deltoids or how to build lats so big that they scare small children. It's not that kind of a video. This is more in line with teaching us how to use our shoulders when our body does not come with a user's manual. So when we're born, we have, of course, amazing software that helps us to run our bodies. We also have hardware that updates itself for like the first 2-3 decades of our life. When the software and the hardware is no longer updating itself so well, in large part because we're just not as active anymore. Usually when we get older, we just we stop challenging our bodies as much as we could and probably should in smart ways. Our body adapts to the imposed demands that we put on it. So if the demands are maybe not that much, if they're if as we become less active, that's going to have an effect. And then if we do down the road somehow need to impose higher demands, it might not be able to meet those demands. So I want to just talk about a proper functioning of the shoulders and ways to keep them functioning well into our lives. So I think what I'm going to do first is talk about movement and anatomy of our shoulders and our shoulder blades, just not any more than we need for this particular video. And I'm also going to introduce you to what I call four laws of the shoulder, how they should move. And these are not hard and fast rules. They're recognized by me, but no specific scientific organization. But they're not arbitrary. As I said, this video is about shoulders. And it's going to be organized this way. I'm going to give you first a really basic tutorial on how the shoulder works and basic anatomy. So it's going to be just what we need for this particular video to know. Then I'm going to get right into the laws. I'm just going to state them and go right through them. Let's talk about anatomy first. So most people think about the shoulder as, is this. So this is technically the glenohumeral joint. So it's where the humerus, the large upper arm bone, where it fits into the glenoid fossa of the shoulder blade. So it's a really shallow indentation. That's why I'm not even calling it like a ball and socket. Like our hip, for instance, it's a real ball and socket. I mean, there's a socket that the head of the femur really fits into. So that's a real ball and socket, a bit more secure in there, at least as far as boniness goes. So here it's just very surface. There's a little bit of cartilage. There's a labrum that helps to helps to give it maybe a bit more surface area, a bit more structure, but not much. Again, so this is really shallow in here, and that's why there's a lot of muscle that helps to keep the arm bone in the shoulder blade nice and securely. So that's important to know that this, and the upshot of it is that with that shallowness and with not as much bone, we have a lot of mobility in our shoulders, and we can flex, we can extend, we can abduct, we can adduct, and we can circumduct. So we can go in circles with our shoulder. So it's an amazingly mobile joint when it's healthy. So let's talk about the shoulder blade too. So the scapula, it doesn't have a lot of connection to our actual axial skeleton here, just really just the collarbone here is where, so it kind of floats on our rib cage. It's because there's a lot of muscle that's helping it to move. But the shape of the shoulder blade is kind of like concave where it meets the ribs, and the ribs are a little bit convex, which is nice. So there's a nice fit of the shoulder blade on the ribs. And then the ribs themselves are attached to our thoracic spine here. So the ribs also, it's a bit of a moving platform too. So we can, and again, I'll get into this a little bit more with one of the laws of the shoulders when we get on there. So that's, for now, as much as I think we need to know about this. So let me get into the laws themselves. So the first thing that we would want from this whole shoulder complex is we want the shoulder blade to be able to move really well on the rib cage. So if I'm coming up here, think about that shoulder blade is rotating up, it's rotating back down. If it doesn't, like let's just say if my shoulder blade is kind of stuck here, it's going to be like this. It's going to be really hard. There's going to be a lot of jamming going on in here. Oh, by the way, let me add that as part of the anatomy, is that there's the shoulder in a lot of places is a very narrow space. And impingement is kind of a common thing that happens with people's shoulders when they get injured, where this bony roof that we have that goes over the top here, kind of the collarbone and the top spine of the shoulder blade kind of come together, form this roof, which is protective, but it's also something that can get in the way. If we want to go up here, if we want to move, we need to be able to kind of get that that bony roof out of the way to allow a lot of this movement. So again, back to that first law. So the shoulder blade should be able to move on the rib cage, so it rotates up. It can also slide back and forth, like around the corner, like a hemisphere kind of a move. So it can, let's say I start here, my shoulder blade is on my ribs, kind of far from my spine, and then I can also move it like this, so then it moves toward the spine. So just think about sports movement, like throwing, golfing, volleyball, where you really want that shoulder blade to be moving really well. The idea of strength training is not just to get strong, or at least it should be, to not just get strong, but also to really help those movements be as full as we can manage. Like if I'm trying to put something, let's say I'm on an airplane, I'm trying to put something up in a bin. If I can do this, which gets me through life for the most part, this might be a little painful. This might be a little hard. Whereas if I can be mobile and strong this way, it's just going to be a lot easier. So part of it is pushing beyond what we usually just need to get through our lives. Okay, second law is that the shoulder blade should also kind of stay flat-ish on our rib cage, because again, think about that concave convex connection that they have, but we really want to be able to fight what life does to us, because everything that we do in life is, not everything, but most stuff that we do is forward. We work on computers, we write, we drive, we eat. So much stuff that we do is just forward like this. So and then if we don't do anything about that, look how we end up. The shoulders start to tip forward. Being able to keep that shoulder blade like I say, and again I say flat on the back, but it's more like it's just kind of upright. So again, life does this to us. This is a really common position for shoulders to be in. If I want to again reach up here, that bony roof is just right there and is not allowing the movement. Whereas if I can tip it back like a convertible, maybe I can have a lot more range of motion, a lot more safe range of motion, where I'm not going to be getting impingement and injury. So the shoulder blade, again, we should be able to kind of tip, to be able to tip it back like that, and just to have it be just smooth. The idea is maybe at first when you have to either learn or relearn these things, it becomes very rote, right? So it's like, okay, tip it back. You have to kind of think about it with certain exercises, but the ideal is that you want to get to the point where it's just a movement that you just do. Your body just starts to know it. If I'm going to reach up, not only is my shoulder blade moving well, but the roof is getting out of the way and it's allowing that. So so that's number two. We should be able to tip our shoulders back, be able to again keep them kind of nice and oriented this way on our rib cage, as opposed to kind of tip forward. Okay, so the third law is the arm bone needs to stay contiguous with our shoulder blade, with the glenoid fossa, no matter where we're going. So if I'm up here, if I'm there, over here, these two should be like in relationship to each other. They're just staying, super together. As far as they know, nothing's going on. They're just, things are whipping around, but they're just like right next to each other, and they shouldn't be moving in relationship to each other very much. Especially the rotator cuff muscles are the ones that keep that arm bone and the shoulder blade contiguous with each other. So we really want them to be able to get the right lengths in relationship to each other, as opposed to, again, life does this. So these tend to get like a little, kind of shorter in here. These tend to get like a little longer in the back. So again, we maybe want to go for a movement like this, and the shoulder says, I'm not used to that movement. Maybe you could teach that to me again. So that's law number 3, is that arm bone and shoulder blade, where they meet, they should stay together and in relationship to each other. Even though, again, that arm can be doing all kinds of different stuff, they're staying together. All right, and then the last one, the last law, is that we need to maintain thoracic mobility. So this, our thoracic spine is, up here between the neck and the lumbar spine. The thoracic spine is capable of, some good extension. So again, think about that. And this, when I talk about this, I'm talking about the ribs. So if I can, kind of like tip those ribs back, it's good for, again, think about volleyball throw, and again, think about, like golf swings. We really want to be able to have that shoulder, that thoracic spine be able to flex and extend. And maybe even more importantly is we want rotation at our thoracic spine. So think about my, like in my thoracic area here, like these two, like let's say quadrant of my upper body, they can move together, or they can move separately. And again, there we go again with that separation for, throwing, striking, reaching for something, whatever. So things that we would just maybe want to do in real life, we really want to have that nice thoracic mobility. If we can get that rotation at the thoracic spine, it's not as much stress on the actual shoulder joint itself. So maintaining thoracic mobility is super important. Okay. That's as much as I really want to impart for now. So again, I have a Facebook page, LW Personal Training. It does have my contact info. Thank you so much for watching this.